I could see how, the story of Joseph Smith somehow brings people to tears.
What? Now, Joseph Smith also had some very problematic things.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so, I don't think it's a beautiful story at all.
Maybe this is an argument for the validity of the resurrection. If you assume an early date for Mark, and if you assume that the Isaiah scroll is perfectly intact, and if you assume that Genesis, was originally by Moses, if you squint hard enough, it all comes together.
Ruslan.
You talk about the Christian story being beautiful.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like I've seen you cry in terms of your appreciation for the gospel message.
Mm-hmm.
That was very compelling. Yet you don't believe it's true.
Yeah.
And what you do believe is true about Jesus, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, so I'm going to try to be very precise.
Sure.
Is that he was a cult leader.
I've said that.
And you study cults.
Yeah.
And you see the harm of cults, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming you'd probably also say he's a failed apocalyptic prophet.
Yeah.
Bart Ehrman. I always hear him say that. So then how do you reconcile something that is so beautiful to you and can bring you to tears while at the same time seeing that it does good in the world? How good, how much bad is backed in with the good? We could talk about that if you want. But yet say that was all started by a cult leader, and yet you're doing great work on exposing cults.
I appreciate that.
You know what I mean? It seems like something that is founded by a cult leader whose body was just kind of thrown into this mass pit grave, and these disciples all just kind of made it up or had a mass hallucination attempt. That's Alex O'Connor's explanation of it, because you got to, the mystery of why they were so convinced that he rose, mass hallucination attempt. His body's doesn't that seem a bit incongruent, right? Something so beautiful that gives people meaning and hope, that seems to have a transcendent, transformative effect, something that brings you to tears when you talk about it.
Yeah.
And you almost miss it. Yet all of that was built on a house of cards by a cult leader.
I don't think so at all.
You
I think that
you
it's
don't think
perfectly
those
congruent.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Tell me
would
why.
I would say that Joseph Smith was a false prophet and a failed prophet, but if I squint hard enough, I can see how the story of Mormonism that Joseph Smith introduced to people, despite the dozens of celestial wives that he had and the lives that he ruined, I could see how the story of Joseph Smith somehow brings people to tears.
What?
Let me.
Why are you guys all caping for Mormonism? By the way, you and Alex. What?
He and I are on the same wavelength. I don't know what it is,
Hold
but
on.
we're studying the same stuff just in tandem.
Joseph Smith. I mean, the guy. There's a lot of sketchy stuff, a lot of rough stuff that happened.
I think
around
that there was
dude.
a lot of
That's
sketchy, unkosher stuff with Jesus as well.
Like what?
If anyone does not hate his father and mother, he is not worthy of me.
You think
I think that's bad.
You think he meant that in a literal sense?
It was probably hyperbole.
Okay.
But
So using a hyperbole device
right.
to say that your devotion to God, ultimately, because he is God,
Yeah.
and he says that in John,
Well,
right?
assuming he was God, I think it's totally fine.
Yes. Oh, okay. So if he's God,
Yeah.
then it's totally in context.
Oh, 100%.
So that's not bad.
Yeah.
Joseph Smith was not God.
Well, I
And he
don't think
caused mass damage.
Jesus was God.
Okay, you don't think Jesus was God, but
Well,
we're starting.
But Mormons think that Joseph Smith is a prophet. So I mean,
Yeah, but a prophet. So the prophet thing is interesting because the Occupy Till I Come 60-day devotional is back in stock. This is taking you through the entire narrative of the scriptures in 60 days with custom daily devotional prompts. So what you're doing is you're spending 35 days in the Old Testament, 25 days in the New Testament, going over all the major stories. There's additional reading for you to go deeper if you want to go deeper on the stories. And you can get them right now bundled up with a virtual ticket to our Bless God Summit. Bless God Summit is coming up March 27th, 28th, 29th in beautiful Southern California. My favorite podcasters, apologists, pastors, preachers, entrepreneurs, all in the same room. Day 1, we're talking about apologetics. Day 2, we're talking about virtue. Day 3, we're going out into the marketplace and being the hands and feet of Jesus. This is going to be a wonderful event. And what you could do is you could actually get the devotional bundled with the virtual ticket for only $65. So go to blessgodshop.com, get yourself a 60-day devotional. I promise you the feedback on these has been crazy. You will love it. Designed by my guy, Josh Nadeau from Sword and Pencil. The beautiful artwork, okay? So go to blessgod.shop. Get yours now, okay? Mean the world to me. There's all these asterisks next to the prophet claims,
Sure.
right? And then even the other books that are in their Book of Mormon and the tablets, but then the other documents that he found. There's so many red flags with the Joseph Smith or a Muhammad. You know, Aisha is like the biggest thing to me, which you'd be like, yeah, he's a great prophet, he's a good blah 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 blah. And it's like, 9-year-old wife, make that make sense for me. And then the Muslim apologetics go, oh, it's okay because she was of age and she was It's like, come on, there's no way you can twist and contort that to say that like marrying her at 5 and consummating it at 9 was something that a good moral teacher would do. There's to me. Now, Joseph Smith also had some very problematic things. You know what I mean? And so like, I don't think it's a beautiful story at all. I love Mormons. Like I think Mormons are sweet people. Yeah. And I think they get some pragmatic things right. But
I'm just saying that if you squint hard enough, I'm sure that there are people for whom, you know, the romance between Joseph Smith and his wife Emma, I'm sure that there are a lot of elements of that story that mean a lot to Mormons and bring them to tears.
But it doesn't seem like you're squinting when you get emotional about the story of Jesus. It seems like you're looking at it and having a pretty clear perspective of what it meant to you, that you're not having to try very hard to see the beauty of it.
I mean, I had to squint when I had to believe that it was true. But I don't have to squint to see the beauty in it.
You had to squint? Did you?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's why I deconverted.
Okay. So when you say you had to squint to believe it was true, this is early on when you kind of are wrestling with doubt, or this is towards the end when you had to squint to believe it was true?
I mean, all throughout.
I
mean, you know, in order to make the apologetics make sense, I think it's much less of a question of having one, you know, home run hitting argument.
Sure.
And it's a question of probability.
Piecing it together.
Right.
Yeah, fine-tuning of the universe, to the resurrection, to the scriptures. Yeah, all that.
And I think that, you know, Christians are not stupid. I think that there is, you know, a valid reason to be a Christian. And there's, you know, valid reason to be an apologist. I think that overall, as a whole, it works when you squint. You know, maybe this is an argument for the validity of the resurrection if you assume an early date for Mark, and if you assume that the Isaiah scroll is perfectly intact, and if you assume that Genesis, you know, was originally by Moses. You know, if you squint hard enough, it all comes together. Okay. And you know, if you squint, you can see how well the Bible is the Word of God because Jesus was the true Word of God, and then he initiated apostolic succession. You ignore these books, which are later. If you squint, it looks like a coherent worldview. And I got tired of squinting.
Okay, fair enough. Hey, thank you so much for checking out the video. Please be sure to comment below and subscribe and all that good stuff. And check out this other video that YouTube seems to be recommending just for you. Let me know if they nailed it. All right? I'll see you over there. Peace.